Hello, I'm going to go through the presidential PowerPoint. I am not sure if you all have this, but this is what the notes are based off. So this will be a quick review for the exam on the presidency. I started out with just some general pictures about the presidency. We went over the demographics. I do ask this question, constitutional qualifications. We've gone over this before. 35 years old, 14 years, live in the U.S., natural born citizen. Benefits or perks of being a president: $400,000 salary, Camp David, White House staff, Secret Service protection. Let's go over the formal powers of the president. Formal means they are listed in Article 2. All power is derived from Article 2. They are delegated or given powers to the president. These are also called expressed powers, Article 2 of the Constitution. Oftentimes, these are associated with roles. We've talked about chief of state being the chief diplomat. Chief executive. I can't emphasize enough, this is the key aspect of presidential power, is to execute the laws. Congress makes laws, executive executes or enforces, judicial interprets. Chief administrator, which means he has to run the executive branch. Chief diplomat. Commander-in-chief is one of his largest powers of the imperial presidency. Chief legislator. Remember, and I know you guys know this, but the president plays a role in signing laws. They don't make laws, but many of the ideas originate. This point right here, he initiates or suggests laws, but the president cannot make a law on his own. This is the informal power. One of them, he is representative or the head of his party. Chief citizen. Executes all laws. These all derive from Article 2. Grant pardons, clemency, commutation, and amnesty. I ask all of those definitions. Make sure you understand the difference between those. We've talked about that. Remember, the president nominates or appoints judges, but this is a shared power with the Senate that the Senate alone has to ratify. Please make sure that you are distinct about what Congress can do and what the Senate can do alone. They fill vacancies. They can appoint cabinet members, again with Senate approval, appoint heads of agencies. As chief diplomat, they can appoint ambassadors, make treaties. Remember, a treaty is a 2/3 vote. I asked the difference between a treaty and an executive agreement. Executive agreements are agreements with foreign countries, between the president and foreign countries, and it does not need Senate approval. Commander-in-chief of the Army and Navy, commander-in-chief of the state militias, and they get to commission officers. A formal power is chief legislator, giving State of the Union, recommending measures, and upon extraordinary occasions convening both houses. We are rarely out of recess, so they get to do this very rarely. I think the last time was President Truman. Formal powers continued. He does have the power to veto. Remember, the president does not have line item veto power. In the case with President Clinton, that was ruled unconstitutional in 1996. Remember the 4 options that the president has when a law comes before his desk. Review what a pocket veto is. Congressional override of a veto with 2/3 of both houses. This is the last part on informal powers. These are those inherent powers of the presidency that are not written but are expected or used because he is president. That's the inherent power, also based on some of the implied powers we've discussed. One of those is an executive order. It's also called an ordinance power or executive power. We know this. An executive order is just a statement issued by the president, a declaratory statement that has the force of law. An executive agreement is what I just mentioned. This is similar in Pink versus the United States, similar to the power of a treaty. So executive agreements have escalated, and this has given the president more power, much like the imperial presidency argument. Executive privilege, this is what a president will try to claim if he says that the national interest is being compromised. It was challenged in United States versus Nixon on a personal level, and it was ruled that Nixon had to overturn or turn over the tapes, and he did not have executive privilege in this case. But sometimes presidents are granted that privilege. This was a picture that I wanted to show you about the power of the West Wing, and I'm going to stop this tape and let this, I'm going to post this on informal and formal powers of the presidency, and then I will talk about the organization of the presidential West Wing.